Alright, welcome back everybody. So today I'm gonna be teaching you guys a few basics of Adobe Animate, which is a big program. It does animating, exactly what it says in the title. And I'm just gonna talk about basics of basics, nothing complex at all. So there'll be more episodes of this, but right now this is just like the basics of the basics of the basics. So I'd say let's go ahead and get started. We could just start a new project. If you go to Create New, and it'll pop out the window, and just choose any of these. It doesn't really matter, and you want to make sure your frame rate is at 30. Alright, now that we've got it open, I'm just going to go over all the tools on left to right and the timeline, and my might look different than the first time you start up Adobe Animate because I am using the classic workspace. It defaults to Animator, so if you want to have the exact same thing as me, you could just switch to classic, or you can go Animator and the tools are the same. Okay, so now we can get started. I'm gonna start on the top left and go down. So first tool, there's the selection tool, which is literally just your mouse. It's pretty self-explanatory. There's not much to say. All right, then we have the sub-selection tool. Uh, free look. So basically, if we make a square here, you'll see what happens. With a regular mouse, you can only move it around. You can't do much else. But with the free selection, you can actually change the size like this. And yeah, it's pretty useful in some cases. Lasso tool is just for cutting things out. There's not much really else to say. It's not that useful if you ask me. Then we have the fluid brush, which is kind of annoying because it's not that useful and there's a lot of things you can change. I'm not gonna go over this because it's honestly not that useful. Then we have the classic brush. Now this you'll probably want to be using. It's just a brush, and if you go to the right, there's the color. There's the outline right there. That's the color selector. And if we go there, you can have a palette. And if we go down to properties and tool, we'll have a bunch more options. We can change the size of things. We can change the brush type. Currently, it's a circle. I'm not going to go into that. You can test that on your own, or you can make your own brush thing. Alright, then we go down. There's a few more options. I'm not going to go over these. You can try them out if you want. If we go on here now, there's a few more options. You can try these out, and the two on the right are especially for tablets that are specially made for drawing. So if you don't have a drawing tablet, you don't have to worry about that. I'm just gonna assume that most of you are just using PC. But it also works on other systems. And then you have the doc, which shows all the basic information of the document. There's the size of the project, there's the frame rate, there's the basic background. Then we have assets. I'm not gonna go into this. It's a bit more advanced. It's not that hard, but it's a bit more advanced, so I'm not gonna go over it quite yet. Then we have library. Then we have library, which is where all of the project you import is. So For example, I want to import a goat. I don't know, and drag it from my desktop into there, and I'll be able to put it into the project. Now, if I just draw something random, and give me a moment. Nope. All right. If you just select the whole thing, and then press F8, uh, the symbol tab will show up. It'll ask you to make a symbol. I'm just gonna name it line because this is just a demonstration. I'm about to delete it in a moment, anyways. Then you want to make sure the type is graphic, not any of the other ones, and then you just want to click OK. And now it's in our library, which means you can drag it out onto stage whenever you want. Yeah. Now let's delete this, and we'll go on to the next part. Okay, next we have the eraser. It's literally just a eraser, pretty self-explanatory. Then we have the shape tools. You can do rectangle. Then you can do oval, which is pretty much just for making circles. Then you have the polygon tool, which is for making polygons. If you want to actually make a polygon, you can just look on the right in the tools part. I'm not gonna go over this because I don't think I've ever used this in an actual project, so I'm just gonna leave it alone. Line tool, it's a straight line, also pretty self-explanatory. Then we have the pen tool, which is, I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. It's just multiple lines together. Just get rid of this. Yeah. And then the next one is text, which is, you get this. It's pretty simple. It's just a text box, and then you get the paint bucket. I think you should know this one too, but I'll just demonstrate real quick. You make a closed shape. Make sure it's closed, or else it will not work. Then you fill in with the paint bucket. Now you can select the color. You can do whatever. It's pretty much paint bucket eyedropper. It just selects the color you clicked on. Also, it's pretty simple. So, if I select white, it will automatically turn to the white. So, then with the pen, I don't think I've ever used this. So I'm just going to skip it. Hand tool, you can move the project around. Hand rotation, you can turn the project. And yeah. Lastly, there is the zoom tool. It's just for zooming in and out, but you can just use that part right there for zooming. So, right now, if you go under any of the tools on the left, under the bottom part, there will be a few extra buttons for each kind of tool. They are in the tool section, but it's just for quick access. You can try them out. I'm not gonna go over them yet. Now let's just delete this and turn this back to black. Alright, now we got that working. We'll talk about the left part, not the left part, what am I even saying? We already gone over the right part. I think we can go over the timeline now. So, for those who don't know, I'm just going to explain how animating works very quickly. So, how animating works is it's a bunch of pictures played in rapid succession in a second. That's what frame rate is, how many pictures are in a second. And when there's enough frames, or the minimum amount is around 24, Your brain will see it, the parts between the two pictures as a smooth process, even though it's not. So, animating is kind of just a illusion. The smooth motion is just a illusion in our head, but animating is just pictures in rapid succession. So that's what animating is. Now I'll explain the timeline. Okay, so I'm gonna explain the timeline real quick, and all the layers and stuff, and then we'll be done for now. So up here is the timeline. You can look over here. Here's our frames. The document is 30 frames per second, as you can see down there. You can edit that, and all of these are different pictures you can put in. All of these frames are you can put in different pictures. I'll explain the frames real quick. So there's keyframes, blank frames, and frames. So keyframe is I need to draw something. When there's a keyframe, you can see it's a white grayish with a black dot. That's when there's a separate picture. Then there's a frame. It's where it's just a continuation of the last keyframe. And then there's blank frame, which is where there is nothing on. So now if we just do this, you can press there that two circles for onion skinning. Onion skinning is pretty useful, so you'll be able to see, this is the next one, this is the one before. I'm gonna draw something in the middle, so it makes sense. It's just for helping you draw and make sure it looks smooth before you actually see it. Here you can select how much you see, and let me just add a few frames real quick. Now if we do this, no wait, let me add a few more frames. This is not an actual project, so that's just random drawing. Say that, and you draw that blue and green bar on top, you'll be able to see more onion skinning. So, back more frames and forward more frames. So I hope that makes sense. If that doesn't make sense, that's okay. Then here you have the loop button, which is Loop's project. All the buttons up here is pretty self-explanatory. Play button just plays all the frames. Right. Now let me delete this. Please let me delete this. Alright, there we go. So now, let's talk about layers. If you press that layer button, you'll be able to make a new layer, and you can name it something else. I'm just gonna name it background for obvious reasons. I can't spell apparently. And let me just put that under. So if you put it under, okay, so I made this background real quick, and whatever's on the most bottom part of the layers is on the background. The farther lower in the layers is, and the more on top it is, the more on top it is. I hope that makes sense. So let me just delete this. And there is also guides. I'm gonna go over that more later. So here we have a few extra buttons that we're not going to go into. Here we have the colors for the layers. I don't find that that useful. It's just for color coordination. Then we have this eye with a cross through it. It just makes the layer invisible when it's turned on. So that should make sense. So I have, for example, if you I'm trying to draw a few frames, but the background is really annoying, or distracting and I can't see, I can just turn the background off for so I can draw the next frames and I can turn it back on after. Then we have the lock, which locks all progress you have already done and you can't change it unless you unlock it. So it's just an extra layer of security, so you don't accidentally mess something up. Then we have a few extra buttons, and I think that's pretty much it. We also, oh right, we have this. If you put drag to the left, it's more out, and drag it in, you'll see more closer frames. That should make sense, but I think that'll be it for today. If you want, you can subscribe. I make a lot of application tutorials, and that's pretty much it for me. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you maybe next time.